In 2003, I was born the last child of a traditional Christian family with 3 other children. And since the day I was born, there's been a subconscious motto that exists in my family's mind. Alicia gets what Alicia wants. Now, this motto wasn't entirely true. In fact, it wasn't true at all. I didn't always get what I wanted. Only the new iPhone every year, and I was allowed to have any new game system I wanted, or any extracurricular that piqued my interest, even if it was inconvenient for my parents on the weekend, as well as going to the mall and picking out any outfit or pair of shoes that I wanted. You know, the basics. But one day, when I was sitting in my 5th grade classroom, the boy who sat next to me in class, Marquand, leaned over to me and told me that he was an uncle. Now, this made no sense to my 10-year-old mind. How could someone who was 1/3 the age of the uncles that I see at every barbecue be an uncle? I leaned back over to Marquand and I told him, Marquand, there is no way that you are an uncle. He then later explained to me that his sister, who's much older than him, had recently had a child, and this made him an uncle. Now, this made sense to my 10-year-old mind. And when I left class that day, there was something new I wanted. I wanted to be an auntie. When I got home from school that day, I rushed into my sister's room and exclaimed to the both of them, I want to be an auntie. To which they immediately broke out into laughter and immediately disregarded my remark. Of course, it was bold to assume that 2 girls who were 15 and 17 years old were ready to be mothers. Unfortunately, if I wanted to be an auntie, I would have to wait a much longer time. But I was okay for waiting to get what I wanted. In 2017, for the first time in my entire life, I became an auntie. It happened when my sister shyly came into Sunday dinner and admitted that she was pregnant. My family immediately surrounded her with warmth and love and understanding, and then we remembered that we were a traditional Christian family and immediately began to plan her wedding. Later that year, my mom, dad, brother, and I moved to Arizona, and my sister Alexis and her husband stayed in Wisconsin. In December of 2017, my sister Alexis gave birth to her beautiful daughter, Addison. Addison was a dream. She could turn any frown into a smile. But because I lived in Wisconsin and had recently moved to Arizona, and my sister stayed in Wisconsin as well as her daughter Addison, I wasn't allowed to see Addison. So instead, I resorted to the occasional FaceTime where I begged my sister to show Addison's face on the phone, or asking my sister every day if I could have a photo so I could show everyone in my freshman class that I was an auntie. When Addison was born, she was perfectly healthy outside of one complication. She had a hernia located in her stomach, which alarmed my family, especially my sister Alexis and her husband, but the pediatrician had informed my family that this would be no concern at all. 3 weeks later, at 8 o'clock in the morning, Addison died. Addison died from the same hernia that was located in her stomach that my family was alarmed about and was told would not be an issue. When Addison died, I was filled with grief and confusion, but my family wasn't a family that was open about their emotions, so I wasn't allowed to have specific details about the situation or to have someone that would comfort me. I only knew one thing, that Addison was gone, and this feels like one of the biggest injustices I'd ever experienced in my entire life. When Addison died, my house was so quiet, you could hear the wind move through it as my family and I sat in isolation. I couldn't cry because There was no one there to comfort me, and my family had also told me that I couldn't tell anyone else about the situation. I couldn't eat because I couldn't stomach sitting at the dinner table with my family while the elephant in the room remained unaddressed. And I couldn't laugh because I couldn't justify sitting at the table with my friends and making jokes and experiencing joy while one of the most harmful and painful situations that I had ever gone through was happening to me and my family. When I finally decided that I was going to confide in a friend, someone who I had seen as my closest friend, and tell her about the issue, she had simply looked at me and told me, "Oh, so you're not an auntie anymore." This killed my motto and solidified my silence. It wasn't Alicia gets what Alicia wants because what I wanted was taken away from me. In 2018, for the first time in my entire life, I was no longer an aunt. For the first time in my entire life, I couldn't have someone who I had yearned for since I was 10 years old in my 5th grade classroom. After doing further research into the matter, I soon learned that my sister Alexis wasn't the only person that had lost their child to a postpartum complication. In fact, I was appalled to learn that in the United States of America, for every 1,000 Black babies born, 10 of them will die from postpartum complications. This is in relation to for how every 1,000 white babies born in the US, 4 of them will die from postpartum complications. And for every 1,000 Asian babies born in the US, 3 of them will die from postpartum complications. The complexities surrounding postpartum mortality, especially for Black children, is a mystery. So what can we do? I've began to ask myself, what can we do? Have we normalized in the year 2024 that we will allow our patients of color, especially our Black children, to die from complications that could have been prevented with better care? Our medical system has billions of dollars annually that goes into funding for treatment and research development that's supposed to better equip our physicians to be able to take care of all of our patients. Our government spends $30 billion annually on this research development. But how can we say we are a country who values justifiable and equitable care for all of our citizens when we allow our patients of color, especially our Black patients, for their complications to be swept under the rug, like the situation with my niece Addison? So in asking ourselves, what can we do? The first thing we do is provide an equitable amount of care to all of the patients in the United States of America. Our country has been blessed with brilliant scientists and gifted physicians, but if we do not allow ourselves to take care of all the patients in the United States and pursue equitable care for all of our patients, then we do ourselves an injustice. If our country wants to provide equitable care for all of the constituents, only then can we value the democracy that we hold dear and the values of justice, equity, and equality. For my sister, justice will never be served. She will never get to hold Addison's hand or watch her lose her first tooth, or to walk her into a 5th grade classroom where she will develop aspirations that could be similar or completely different to mine. And for the women and families of Hispanic, Black, and Indigenous children who die from postpartum complications, they will never be able to watch them take their first steps or develop aspirations that every child in the United States is capable of doing. My niece Addison inspires me to be a better person every single day. She is the reason that I am pursuing my bachelor's in public health, to which I hope to then go on and get my medical degree later in life. She's also allowed me and inspired me to readopt my motto. It is Alicia gets what Alicia wants. And what I want is for our country to pursue equitable care for every patient in the United States. And until I get that, I will continue to advocate, to educate, and to research disparities that close this issue.